The cowboy sent for a mail-order bride. He never expected a woman twice his size to arrive. The morning train hissed into the station at Clearwater, Wyoming, belching steam and cinders. Townsfolk shaded their eyes, pausing from errands to watch who might step off. A train always brought stories, sometimes a preacher, sometimes a drifter, sometimes a letter's promise finally come to life. Ethan Cole stood at the edge of the platform, tall and lean, weathered by sun and solitude. 32 years old, owner of a lonely ranch with more cattle than company, Ethan had lived long enough to know the ache of empty evenings. His mother's old rocking chair sat unused by the fire, the silence of the house pressing heavy. That was why, after long months of debating, he'd written back east to an agency. A mail-order bride might be a gamble, but loneliness was a certainty. Now, the gamble was arriving on the morning train. His heart hammered as the conductor shouted, "Clearwater Station!" Passengers spilled out, a salesman with shiny boots, a farmer's wife with children, a preacher. Ethan tugged his hat lower, scanning the crowd. Then she appeared. The woman who stepped down from the train was, Lord above, twice his size. Taller by a head, shoulders broad, arms solid with strength. Her long skirts swished around boots built for work, not dainty steps. A bonnet shaded her face, but when she looked up, he caught eyes the color of a mountain lake, clear, steady, impossible to look away from. Ethan froze. He'd expected a slip of a woman, someone fragile, someone needing protection. Instead, she looked like she could toss a hay bale farther than he could. The crowd parted as she strode forward, a carpetbag in her hand like it weighed nothing. Her gaze landed on him instantly. A smile tugged her lips. "You must be Ethan Cole," she said, her voice carrying like church bells. He tugged at his hat, flustered. "Yes, ma'am." She set her bag down with a thud that rattled the boards. "Martha Jane Whitfield. We've been writing." Before he could answer, she extended a hand. Her grip swallowed his, firm, calloused, confident. "Well," she said cheerfully, "don't just stand there. Help me with my trunk." Ethan blinked. Trunk. The porter wheeled forward a chest big enough to hold a small herd. Ethan strained lifting one end, while Martha Jane hoisted the other with ease, barely winded. By the time they got it onto his wagon, Ethan's pride ached worse than his arms. The wagon rolled out of town, wheels clattering over ruts. Prairie grass rippled in the breeze. Martha Jane sat beside him, bonnet ribbons fluttering. Ethan kept his eyes on the reins, words stuck like thorns in his throat. Finally, she spoke. "You didn't expect me to be this size." He nearly dropped the reins. Ma'am, I didn't say that." "You didn't have to. I've seen that look plenty." Her tone wasn't sharp, just honest. "You thought you'd get a delicate little thing. Instead, you got me." Ethan cleared his throat, glancing at her. She met his gaze head-on, steady as stone. "Well," he said slowly, "delicate don't haul water, mend fences, or cook supper. I asked for someone steady. Looks to me like you fit that bill." Her laughter rolled out, rich and warm. "That's the kindest thing anyone said in a long while." The ranch stretched wide under the Wyoming sky, fenced pastures, a weathered barn, a small log cabin with smoke curling from its chimney. Ethan felt suddenly nervous showing it to her. "Ain't much," he muttered as he helped her down from the wagon. Martha Jane rested her hands on her hips, surveying it. "4 walls, a roof, and more land than I ever dreamed. Looks like plenty to me." That evening, Ethan figured she'd be tired. Instead, she tied on an apron, rolled up her sleeves, and turned his bare kitchen into a feast. The smell of beans, bacon, and cornbread filled the cabin. They ate across from each other, lamplight flickering. Ethan stole glances, at freckles across her cheeks, at the way her laughter filled the room like music. After supper, she leaned back. "Well, Mr. Cole, do you regret writing those letters?" Ethan set his fork down. "I'll be honest, I was surprised. But my ma used to say blessings don't always come wrapped the way we expect. Maybe you're proof she was right." Her smile softened, and for the first time since she stepped off the train, Ethan felt his chest ease. The days proved she was more than he could have imagined. Martha Jane rose before dawn, worked beside him in the fields, mended fences, hauled buckets. She roped a stray calf with a whoop and laughed when it dragged her a few feet before she flipped it onto its side. She carried her weight, and then some. But evenings revealed another side. On the porch, she hummed hymns, told him stories of growing up in Missouri, and listened with quiet patience when he spoke of his late parents. Ethan found himself smiling, laughing, speaking more than he had in years. Still, whispers followed in town. When they went for supplies, he caught smirks. "That's his bride. Twice his size," someone snickered. One Saturday, a young ranch hand shouted across the street, "Careful, Cole, don't let her crush you." Laughter rang out. Ethan's fists clenched, fury hot in his blood. But Martha Jane stepped forward, calm as a mountain. She looked the ranch hand up and down, then said loud enough for everyone to hear, "Careful yourself, Sonny. I just might." The laughter turned, this time on the ranch hand. He stammered, red-faced, and disappeared into the crowd. That night on the porch, Ethan muttered, "I should have stood up for you." Martha Jane laid a hand over his. "Ethan, I've been standing up for myself a long time. But it's good to know you wanted to." Ethan looked at her then, really looked. She wasn't the woman he'd pictured when he wrote those letters. She was better. Seasons shifted. Summer rolled into autumn, and with it came harvest. Together they stacked hay, her laughter echoing as she outworked him in the fields. They shared meals, shared silence, shared burdens. Slowly, steadily, the bond between them deepened into something neither had dared hope for. One crisp evening, the sky burning orange and purple, Ethan finally spoke the truth swelling in his chest. "Martha Jane," he said, voice low, "we started this with letters and a contract. But it doesn't feel like an arrangement anymore. It feels like home. And that's because of you." She blinked, surprised, then her eyes softened like dawn breaking. "Ethan Cole, are you saying what I think you're saying?" He took off his hat, holding it to his chest. "I'm saying I don't just want you here because of a piece of paper. I want you here because I love you. Will you stay by my side, not just as my bride, but as my heart?" For a long moment, the prairie was silent. Then Martha Jane leaned down, kissed his forehead, and whispered, "Yes, Ethan Cole. Yes." Years later, Clearwater remembered their laughter, not their whispers. Folks pointed to the thriving ranch and spoke with respect of Ethan and Martha Jane Cole, a partnership of equals, bound by love stronger than gossip. And Ethan often thought back to that first moment on the platform, when he'd frozen in shock at the sight of her. Every day after, he thanked God he hadn't turned away. Because sometimes the greatest blessings come twice the size a man expects.